Hi, today I'm sharing number 7. This week I'm sharing 5 more ups organisations are making in regard to the greatest opportunity they're being offered, and that's the hybrid work model, which will be different to every organisation. And I wanted to share today, as I did yesterday, you can't just say everyone can work from anywhere. You know, it's a blanket statement, which might sound really nice. But yesterday I talked about employee sort of safety, and are we really going to allow them to work in places that are going to could put them in real danger? And I wanted to talk about that you can't just say that as well, work from anywhere, but ignore location and the compliance and the legislation and the rules that come into play for every country, and every country is different. So you need to be across the hornet's nest that you could be opening yourself up to. It's not a reason not to do it, but it's a consideration that could be devastating if it gets ignored. Now, I'm in Australia, as many of you will know, and I'll read these rules, if you like. So, for example, if you plan to work for an Australian company, even if you reside overseas and you're not going to move into Australia, you will need a visa. If you're an Australian business and you recruit a person overseas for at least 60 days, you are then subject to Australian tax law and obligations. And those overseas employees that you recruit could also be subject to local employment laws. So there could be conflicting provisions. So there are many tax rules and superannuation rules for Australian residents working overseas and vice versa. So we need to be across all of these, or it could be very expensive if we're not. So we have to look at what compliance is in place for residents and non-residents before we, fall flat because we just ignored them. This isn't easy. There are many moving parts and variables. It's multifaceted, but we can do it. Just don't do this and not think of all the consequences. The other aspect to location is, how do you know where all your employees are working out of at any given time? If you're saying you can work for anywhere and you're allowing them to be mobile, they could just keep moving across borders, across country borders, state borders. How are you going to know where they are? Because if they are in a location and suddenly a disaster happens, you won't know if they're there or not. So you have to think about whether you ask employees to do self-reporting every time that they move location. And researchers from a company called Topia have said that even though HR professionals, 93% said they were pretty confident they knew where the majority of their employees were working, only a third of the employees said that they were actually reporting where they were. So there's a mismatch there. So the option is you could track their location, and that helps keeping that tabs on employees, and you don't have to worry about them self-reporting because you'll know where they are. The question is, do your employees want that? But just think on, where are they? Talk to you tomorrow.